Welcome back to This Is What I Do If. Today I'm talking about something pretty awesome and pretty fun. This is what I'd do if I wanted to travel and become a digital nomad. I know there are a lot of people with travel dreams who would love to start a business and take it on the road, or even take their existing business on the road. For me, travel is one of the reasons why I started my digital business in the first place back in 2019. I wanted to be able to create something that would allow me the money to travel with my family. And now in 2025, I travel full time. I am living overseas permanently. And today I thought I would share with you some of the things around that decision, what it involves for me, some considerations that you might want to think about if you are wanting to travel, if you're wanting to have the digital nomad lifestyle, and share how you can actually do it through a digital business. So firstly, what led me to getting to this place? Right now, I am going live from Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, which is my current base place where I am staying for a lot of the time, and also traveling around to other places. And the desire to actually go on the road and not just travel with the family, but actually travel full time as a digital nomad really kicked in for me in 2023. I'd wanted to do it for a long time. I'd been one of those people who watched all the YouTube videos about being a digital nomad and had been looking at different places around the world. And in 2023, I traveled to Thailand and Cambodia, spent about a month in those places, and just completely fell in love. Was like, all right, I can see this happening. This is definitely something that I want to do. And through that trip, and then through, unfortunately, ending up in a bit of burnout and kind of really thinking, all right, what do I want to do with my life and my business? Decided that traveling is something that I wanted. However, I was a little bit nervous about doing it full time. I am not a 20-year-old with a backpack anymore. Those days of travel are behind me. So I wanted to make sure that I was going to be able to do something that wouldn't just end up feeling like I was on a perpetual holiday. When I was in Thailand and Cambodia back in 2023, that was the trigger that led me into a season of burnout and not doing much work at all. So there was a little part of my head that went, okay, what if I go traveling and I spend time in Asia and I don't actually want to do anything? I just want to chill out all the time and, live on the beach and not actually work on my business, because that was not going to be sustainable. I didn't want to travel so that I couldn't work. I wanted to travel so that I could have the experience of traveling and see new places and new cultures and all those kinds of things while working. I didn't want to retire and, just kind of faded away. I wanted to make sure that it was going to work together. So I decided to do it firstly as a little bit of an experiment. By complete fluke, ended up in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, thinking, oh, well, I'll stay here for a few weeks, see if I like it. The first couple of weeks, I actually hated it, I'll be honest. When I was here, the humidity is pretty brutal in most Asian nations, especially here in KL. It's pretty much right on the equator, and it never gets below about 24, 25 degrees Celsius, which is pretty warm. I don't actually know the Fahrenheit, what that is off the top of my head. Warm and about 10,000% humidity, even overnight. And also the thing I struggled with here is when I was in Australia, I used to walk every day. I lived near a beautiful lake, and coming here, I just was not able to do that. I would get so annoyed and frustrated and sweaty and hot every time I went out to walk. Not to mention, Kuala Lumpur is not a walkable city at all. There are so many times where I've gone for walks and ended up on a random freeway, or even running over a random freeway to try and get somewhere. So, I needed to adjust some things and, get used to it. However, I found over time, this place and Asia really won me over. I really love the people. I've met so many incredible, friendly, lovely people. It is a really great lifestyle here. The cost of living is significantly lower than most Western countries. So, you can have a great life. You can do things that you may not be able to do on top of being able to actually save money. And I found that I was able to work. I actually really enjoyed being able to be on the road, have these experiences, be in a new place, and keep my business running. So I was like, all right, And that led me to then, deciding to permanently travel. And I don't know when that is going to end at the moment. It's a strange kind of feeling because I can't tell you what I'm going to be doing in 6 months' time. Right now, I am in Kuala Lumpur. I'm heading to Japan on the 8th of May. And after that, I don't yet know. Now, that may be challenging, but for me, it feels almost really freeing. It feels like there is so much possibility. And I really love that feeling right now. So that's sort of what led me to being here and to turning my life into this. But I just wanted to talk about how I'm actually able to afford this. Now, something to consider when you are living the digital nomad lifestyle is there's a lot of stuff that you see on internet, especially, Instagram Reels, especially a lot of younger people will really glorify the digital nomad lifestyle and maybe won't show you some of the parts that aren't so fun. And it is not some 4-hour work week or 4-hour month fantasy. For me, I'm focused on freedom and traveling and stability so that I can work. I want to have a business that is portable. I want to make sure that I'm generating passive income or portable income so that I can still earn even when I am traveling. So often people, when they have an online business, passive income is the goal. I freaking love passive income. It's something that I would say is more leveraged income. You do the work first and the money is going to come later. It's not some magic money tree that you can just turn on. But being able to have this revenue that is moving with me, to be able to run a business that I can run from anywhere is what gives me this flexibility. I'm not tied to a location. As long as I have internet, like decent internet and somewhere to work, I can pretty much run my business from anywhere in the world. And that is pretty awesome. And that's what creates this freedom and the who knows what's going to happen next world of possibility. So to do that, you've got to be a little bit smart about the type of digital business that you can run. Maybe if it's something where you're doing products, if it's kind of drop shipping related and you don't technically need to send things out yourself. If you're actually shipping things, I don't really think that's going to be a great portable business unless you've got a warehouse or something, some way of having that done for you and you're concentrating more on the marketing. But it is so suited to digital product businesses, to creator businesses, where the types of products are online courses, membership programs, coaching, consulting, done for you services, template sales, the kind of things where you can create the product and it can sell. And your input into doing that doesn't need to be based on being in a specific location. So it's kind of that location independence. But like I said before, it's rarely that live on the beach type of lifestyle. A lot of people think that I'm just kind of perpetually traveling around, like doing whatever, which yes, I am. I have been to a lot of places and it is really, really cool. However, it's not a margarita on a beach lifestyle all the time. Sure, occasionally it may be a case of just quickly checking some emails. But if I was working on the beach every day, even if I had a margarita in my hand, which I'd be unlikely to do if I was working, that would be incredibly annoying. Not to mention how hot it is. I live for the air conditioning. Even today, I'm a little bit hot in this room with the air conditioning on. I cannot imagine sitting by a pool or sitting by a beach. Sand in the laptop is just not practical. So, those pictures you see where, people are sitting there with their laptop on the beach, probably not the most realistic expectation to expect. I mean, if that's something that you want to do, absolutely, but I don't think you're going to be able to get, hours of work done sitting on the beach in, a lot of these tropical locations. So what's happened is basically I've picked up the type of work that I was doing in Australia and I've moved it here, but there are some changes that I have made. So I'm no longer generally working every day. Like what tends to happen is that I've got a bit of a different rhythm. I will work more in kind of blocks. So there'll be certain periods of time where I'm a bit more stable and not moving around so much, where I may work a little bit more. And then there'll be times where I am exploring and adventuring and I may work less or even not at all. And that's one of the reasons why I'm really looking at my business right now and making sure that my business is run around my life, because I don't know when this digital nomad phase of my life is going to end. If it's going to end, who knows? I might still be on the road in 10 years' time. So I need to make sure that it is more suitable to that, to products that are going to fit around that lifestyle. So I'm creating a business to suit my life, not necessarily just trying to fit my life around the business. So for me, that's looking like things that are more seasonal or cohort based rather than ongoing. This is one of the challenges that I found with the membership, especially with time zones, is when you've got commitments to be showing up, every single week. That can be challenging when you're also wanting to enjoy the place that you are in, and or having to do things at really awkward times. Now, for example, I don't mind if I had, say, one call a month at 6 a.m., but trying to do that every week or a couple of times a week can become really hard if that's not when you are working at your best. So I'm looking at doing things that when I know I'm going to be stable in a place for a month or two, then offering cohort type courses where I can offer the support, where I'm not also trying to figure out, public transport and where to buy food and, learning languages in a new city, like looking at those opportunities where I'm going to be in one place for a while. Also where I can, if I am doing something ongoing, like I said, moving maybe to a monthly cadence for the support that I'm offering instead of weekly, or things that are more async based. So messaging tools, like where someone can send you a message and you can respond both in your own time zone, rather than so much focus on the live sessions. And then also just trying to schedule my times. I used to have a really open calendar, which meant sometimes I could get like 4, maybe even 5 days a week where I had calls at 6 and 7 a.m. in the morning, which is okay, but I found that a bit challenging when it was every week. I found it hard to be able to get up early enough so that I could be at my peak at the start of the call. And often that meant getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, and I'm not a morning person. So that was really challenging. So, as I go into this phase of what I'm doing in my business, I'm really looking at the things that are going to be more flexible, because, maybe I'm going to be in another time zone altogether, later. Like I may not always be in Asia, maybe I could be in Europe or somewhere else. So I want to create things that allow me a little bit more flexibility in schedule, whilst also enabling me to support people, because helping is one of the things that I love to do the most. My core values are freedom and helping. So I've got to find a way to make them merge and gel together. So how I actually make money and how I am able to be on the road and make money online isn't that different to what I was doing when I was based at home in Australia. So the majority of my revenue is coming recurring revenue. Like one of the things I'll talk about in a sec is I think how helpful and important having that recurring revenue is when you are traveling, because it gives you a really secure base of income, even when, things get a bit fluctuating, where there are scary changes going on in the world. So for me, I have made sure that I have a solid base of recurring revenue that mainly comes from affiliate income. I'm one of Kajabi's top affiliates, so I generate a very healthy commission every month, which I am so grateful for. Also, we sell templates, which is something where there's a lot of work that goes into creating templates, but it's all kind of on the front end. Once the template is created, there's a lot less work in delivering it. So it's a reasonably what I would call passive product. I would call it a hard work passive product though, because there's a lot that goes into the bit before it actually goes for sale. And then I've also got some courses and on-demand training that is able to generate income, and I do consulting work as well. So, so those are the main ways that I generate income. The courses and the templates and the consulting work is less like I have less knowledge of what I'm going to make every month, but the affiliates, usually I will know a couple of months ahead what my actual income is going to be, so I can plan around that. And that income is covering costs and some, so it allows me to have a bit of flexibility, to the point where for the first 3 months of this year, I actually didn't do a whole lot of work, probably even 4 months. December as well was pretty light because I did some travel to Thailand, had a bit of a holiday in December. January, I went to Dubai for the Kajabi Sessions event. I spent a couple of weeks, doing a fair amount of work, but then spent a month traveling and then came back and unfortunately ended up feeling very, very unwell and taking a month off for illness. So despite the fact that I actually haven't really worked much for the last 3 months, I was still able to keep money coming in. And that flexibility is the thing that like that recurring revenue is the thing that enables me to feel comfortable and know that my costs, expenses, I've got money coming in kind of no matter what happens. Like, who knows, maybe I could get some incredible opportunity to do something that would mean I really wasn't going to work for a whole lot of months. And now that I am on the road and I'm traveling, I don't want to say no to those opportunities. I've done a lot of work to get to this point, to have this lifestyle. So I certainly don't want to be like, oh no, I've got to work. I want to be able to get a really nice blend between working and having the freedom to explore and go on adventures. Adventures being pretty much my favorite thing to do in the world. And not only that, like regardless of what you're doing, I personally think it's really important to have multiple revenue streams, multiple ways of making money online, because you just don't know when things are going to change. And having multiple ways of generating income in your business gives you that sense of safety and security. So even if something changes, it's very unlikely that everything is going to change at once. You'll still have some ways of generating income. So next, I just wanted to talk a little bit about accommodation, what to do when you are traveling on the road and how to live. And if you do have any questions, please do let me know. I've got a couple that I just saw come in. And hello, Erica. It's always beautiful to have you here. So accommodation, when you are traveling, personally, I have found that Airbnbs are generally a lot cheaper, but they can be a little bit more unreliable in terms of photos can be misrepresented. Sometimes you'll think you're getting something and you arrive there and you're like, oh, this is very different. We had one Airbnb that we got to, which looked lovely, but had so many cockroaches. I was kind of grossed out by it. And despite going and buying cockroach spray and all those things, it just wasn't the most pleasant few weeks. And it just wasn't particularly clean either. But then I've had other Airbnbs, which have been absolutely fantastic experiences. So, look around, look at reviews for Airbnbs. One of the things that's most important to me is someone who does, want to pretty much move my work from one location to another. If I know that I'm going somewhere and it is one of those more settled periods of time where I'm like, all right, I'm going to go there and explore, but the majority of this sort of month or two is going to be around working, I want to make sure that I have really good internet. And because I'm a little bit older, I want to make sure I have a good office chair. Done are the days where I can make do on a stool or a bar stool or a crappy dining room table chair where my shoulders are going to end up like this and I'm going to end up with sore neck and sore shoulders. I want to have an ergonomic office chair and I want to have a desk and I want to have good internet. Now, unfortunately, a lot of Airbnbs don't have this. They will have this category on Airbnb that says, hey, this is what you can do. This is, does this place have an area for working? But an area for working is very subjective. And sometimes that will be like a crappy little fold-up table with incredibly uncomfortable chairs. Or even sometimes I've seen places say that they have a working space and it is bar stools at a bench. Not comfortable and fine for just checking email. So that's why it depends on what you're doing. So if I'm going somewhere where I just want to be able to work for, half an hour or an hour a day, maybe take a client call, then that's going to be less of a priority. The internet usually is a main priority. But yeah, just make sure to check reviews for people. Like I try and look for Airbnbs where people say they either are a digital nomad or that it was a really great place to work, or that it had a desk, or I can see that there is a desk in the photos, because I have found that makes it a little bit more comfortable. And sometimes you might find, especially if you are traveling in Asia, that hotels can actually have really good deals. And sometimes you can contact the hotel and they'll give you a long stay price. And in some cases that may end up almost the same price as an Airbnb, but then you have the benefit of potentially, getting hotel points so that you can have free nights elsewhere. Maybe they'll have a business lounge and they might upgrade you if you're staying for a long time. Sometimes you'll have things like free breakfast could be offered. You're always going to have free internet, and then you'll have cleaning every day. However, the space will be smaller. So again, think about, what you are going to be doing and, what feels good. So sometimes I found that hotels can actually end up better than Airbnb. Again, though, check the photos, because I've also found the same table/desk situation with hotels. Sometimes the fanciest hotels have the most annoyingly uncomfortable desks and chairs, and I don't understand. I'm like, why has this 4 or 5 star hotel got such a terrible desk setup? And often it's because it looks aesthetic and it looks great in the photos, but it's not particularly practical. So I would always suggest asking. And if you do arrive at a hotel and you find that the setup for the desk is not particularly helpful. I had a stint where I stayed at a hotel specifically to try and get some recording done for a program last year. And the desk was like a skinny little bench, and there wasn't even enough room for me to put my monitor on. So I went down to the desk and told them, I said, hey, I've specifically come here to do work, but the area is not really that helpful. And they actually ended up upgrading me to a different room with a much bigger desk. And I was like, oh, thank God I asked. So don't be afraid to ask things like that as well of the hotel. And Airbnb, sometimes there might be a company that runs the Airbnb, and maybe they've got another room if the room isn't so helpful. But yes, now what I use on the road, my things that I take on the road. I'm unfortunately not able to be a backpack carry-on type of traveler. I wish I was. I'm not a minimalist. I meet people sometimes and they're like, oh, my whole life is in this backpack. And I'm like, how do you do that? I don't know how you do that, because I take with me my laptop, which is unfortunately heavy. Next time I get a new laptop, I'm going to get a much lighter laptop for sure. I have a travel keyboard, which sometimes I take, sometimes I don't. If I'm going to be staying somewhere for a longer period of time, I will take that with me because I like having my nice keyboard. I also have my travel mouse that comes everywhere with me because I don't like using the trackpads on laptops. So essentials would be laptop and mouse. As someone who teaches online and often in my Zoom calls, I am doing Kajabi tutorials and training. I like to have a second monitor so that I can have the monitor on one screen, the Zoom, or the program that I'm using to teach on another. I use 2 monitors all the time. It is not something that I enjoy sacrificing, and I like having a bigger monitor. So usually I'll travel with a laptop, second monitor, and a mouse, and optionally a keyboard, a portable keyboard as well, just because that can make it easier if you're using that 2 monitor setup and you're putting your laptop on a stand. And that's pretty much it. I put everything into the cloud. So we have a cloud drive for storage. And then depending on how long I'm going to stay in a place, I may get a local SIM card. I still have my Vodafone account and phone number in Australia, and I do have the option of turning that on for $5 a day global roaming. However, I'm only allowed to do that for a maximum of 90 days in a year, and $5 a day really adds up. Here in Malaysia, I can get a SIM card with plenty of data on it, so that I can, use that for hotspotting. I can do pretty much whatever I want, and that's around $12 a month as opposed to $5 a day. And this is Australian dollars, by the way. In Japan, it's around $30 for a month. So again, if you're doing anything more than, say, a week, it would make sense to get a local SIM card. It depends on the places that you're going. I have tried to use one of the online companies. I can't remember exactly what it was called. There was one of the ones where you buy it before you go. It's like an eSIM. I actually found that incredibly expensive, not easy to use, and no better than getting a local card. I guess the difference is do you need it as soon as you land? If you need it as soon as you land, then having one of those, those companies where you buy it before you go, you'll pay more, but you get that convenience of being able to turn it on as soon as you land. If you've got a bit of flexibility, I usually just turn on my $5 a day global roaming for the first day or two while I find a shop and go and get a local SIM card. And so I travel with my iPhone and use the double SIM card slot in that. I also use safety wings for my travel insurance. I highly recommend travel insurance. Depending on where you are, like at the moment, being in Kuala Lumpur and a little bit more settled and not doing actual travel, it's probably less important because I'm living a bit more like I would live at home and sort of not traveling around to a lot of places and not in situations where I could lose luggage and things like that. But the main thing is more for that, what would happen if there was an accident? What would happen if I needed needed to be airlifted home or needed someone, you know, in my family to come and be with me. It's more for that kind of extreme emergency. I have been looking into getting local travel insurance in places, but it's pretty expensive. And at the moment, the Safety Wings insurance is, you know, it's kind of my backup. I've never had to use it. I am a little frustrated that as I've got older, it's got significantly more expensive. And each time my birthday rolls around, I'm like, come on, like, why are you putting the price up so much? And also, you know, in saying that, like, I'm paying for that in lieu of having any other insurance, because I can't get insurance in Australia because I'm not there anymore. I have actually paid out of pocket for some dental surgery and some actual surgery here in Asia. One in Thailand, one in Kuala Lumpur. And the cost of paying out of pocket, even though it's a little bit expensive, wouldn't be any different to if I'd paid, you know, money all the time. Now, that was something that was an existing condition, so it wouldn't have been covered under travel insurance anyway. But that's where I have the travel insurance, because of those emergency, unexpected things that, you know, you just don't know what the price. Like, I can imagine if you ended up in intensive care, in private care, that could be a pretty substantial blow. So that's why I've got that Safety Wings insurance. Okay. So the teacher, thank you for your comment. You're saying, welcome, digital businesses. I think digital businesses encircled Europeans' responsibility to think why so much to be prioritizing business, linking successful life through businesses. Not totally sure if there's a question there. I'm thinking like that you are asking about you know, thinking about your life and prioritizing your business and then balancing that life. Let me know if that is what you are asking about, so I can comment on that. Now, one of the things as well that I found as an older digital nomad is that my focus, especially going forward, is going to be around staying longer in places, not doing the quick trips. There, you know, is a lot of fun in going around to a lot of places and seeing new things and cool things and having that more travel experience rather than working on the road experience. And, you know, there was one place, one sort of period last year where I think I had something like 14 weeks in a row where I was doing that weekly call for my membership in a different place every single time. And that was awesome. You know, there was some very cool things about that period, but it was also really exhausting moving around constantly. And, you know, I'd even already decided that doing that slower travel was something that I wanted to do, but I kind of fell into the, I'm going to go here and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and thought I was sort of slow traveling, but really wasn't. So, you know, in the future, I'll be looking at staying in places for a longer period of time, as much as I can, just to sort of enjoy the place, get to know it. Like, there's, I think that's one of the reasons why I've kind of fallen in love with KL. When, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, KL is kind of boring, is when you have the time to be in a city for longer and explore it and get to know it, and, you know, potentially even get to know people and things become familiar. It gives you a different sense of the city. Like, it's not where you're just going in for, you know, a few days or a week and going around to all the tourist highlights. Like, getting to actually know things and get places that you like to go and stuff. There's a lot of value and benefit in doing that. You know, understanding how to use public transport, understanding how to get around, you know, getting into a proper work rhythm, like actually sort of having a bit of routine in your day, is what, you know, helps me be able to do those blocks of work on the road and balance it with travel. And I find that when you are racing around from place to place, there's a lot of mental energy that goes into learning the place, like figuring out where things are. Even if you don't have language barriers, it's like, all right, where do I get food from? What's good food? I'm vegetarian, so I've got an extra like layer of complexity to be like, all right, well, I need to find out where I can get food that suits my diet. And, you know, when you're able to spend a bit more time and that becomes familiar, that mental load goes away. So then you've got more time to focus on work and on enjoying the place that you're in and kind of living there rather than being on holiday there. So, yeah, so you know, I'll be looking at places where I can get visas for, you know, at least a month, if not 90 days. There are a lot of places, especially in Asia, that give you 90-day visas, which means that you can go and try places out and spend a bit of time and enjoy it, through to places like Thailand, where you can actually now get a 5-year digital nomad visa and stay for up to 6 months at a time, which is really cool. These things give you way more options and flexibility than you've perhaps had in the past. So definitely explore options. There's so much information on YouTube about places that you can go and work. And yeah. Something to remember though, when you are picking either a place to have as a base or a place to go and live for a while, there is no such thing as a perfect place. Just like there's no such thing as the perfect online software. There's always going to be trade-offs. So you just got to figure out what are the trade-offs. Like, the trade-offs for me here in KL is the humidity. I don't know if I'll ever get used to the humidity, and the trade-off of not being able to go out for walks for fun. I certainly make sure anytime I am outside KL, I'm like, my daily walk is going to be, coming back in, especially if it's not in a humid place. However, there's so many other really, really good things. English is really widely spoken here. It's a very low cost of living. There's so many fantastic food options. It's really easy access to other parts of Asia, which is really nice. There's really cheap transport to get around. Grab, which is the equivalent of Uber, is super cheap and accessible. I think the most that I've paid for a Grab is out to the airport, which is about $20 US, and that's an hour in the Grab. So, that'll give you a bit of context. And even the local subway system, the place that I'm staying right now is right on top of a subway. It makes it so quick and easy to get around anywhere. I'm 3 stops away from the center of KL. So it's very easy to go to, those places, but we've also got easy access to supermarkets and shopping malls and things like that. So that for me is great. The trade-offs are I'm in a city and I don't always love a city at the moment. I'm in a time where I'm like, cool, I love the city. But at times I really crave for nature and quietness and peace. So the next place that I go will have a lot more of that and a lot less city. So that again is that great thing with having the freedom and having that world of possibility is there's so many different things that I can experience, and I'm able to mix it up, some time in the city where it's kind of fun and busy, and then some time in nature. And that's not something that you're generally able to do when you've got one fixed location. But it's got to depend on what's important to you. Is living by a beach something that's really important to you? Is living in a place with, a more temperate temperature something that you want to look for and like are not negotiable? Is it that, you're at a time where you're like, all right, I really want to try and save some money, so a cheaper location is something that I want, and I'll trade off some other things. There is no perfect location. There's a lot of people's opinions, and also everyone is different and everyone likes different things. So that's why it can be really good to go and experiment, try some new places, maybe go for a week or two and be like, all right, do I like this place? Could I see myself staying here for a little bit longer? One of the other things is community and connection while you are on the road. Now, I am going to put a link into a Kajabi Hero Digital Nomad community that I helped found with Kate McGregor from Out of Office. I'll be honest, Kate is pretty much doing the heavy lifting right now. I've been in a bit of a back seat in my business kind of world, but it's a really awesome community. Even if you're not using Kajabi and you're not yet a digital nomad, you're more than welcome to join. It's people coming together and sharing stories and talking about digital nomad life. So I'll put the link to that in the description or in the comments. Let me know if you would like it so that you can come and join us in that community. But solo travel can feel a little bit lonely unless you do actually intentionally seek people out. So some things that you can try is going to co-working spaces, so you're not working alone, even if you're not even talking to the people there. Sometimes it can feel nice when you just know that there's other people around. Look for things like expat or digital nomad meetups. Meetup.com has often got some meetups where you can meet different people. My 19-year-old daughter Maya lives here with me in Kuala Lumpur, and she's actually found a whole community here by going to a meetup for people who want to learn languages. And that group has a lot of social outings, and she's been able to meet people that have similar interests and really find community here, which has been beautiful. So sometimes places where the language isn't a barrier, it's going to be a lot easier to make friends with locals as well as potentially with expats. But getting yourself out there and looking for opportunities. I met up with a person from Australia a week or two ago, Belinda. Hello, if you're watching. And she actually reached out to me because she put a post into a Facebook group saying, "Hey, does anyone know anyone in Kuala Lumpur? I've just landed and I want to make connections." So look for local Facebook groups. Maybe there's even Reddit communities, like places where you can look to actively seek out connections so that it doesn't feel so lonely when you're on the road. Now, if I was going to start from scratch, if I was like, all right, what am I doing to make this my goal? Maybe right now you're like, oh, I want to do this. I want to have that freedom. I want to go and explore places and go skiing in Japan and lie on a beach in Thailand and live in Malaysia. If it's something that appeals to you and something that you're like, this sounds pretty cool, this is what I would be considering if I was doing this from scratch. So building that portable passive income, doing things that are going to allow you to be making money while you are anywhere in the world. And ideally, things that will be able to make you money without you having to show up all the time. Like, obviously, you can, show up and do coaching and consulting and in-person work at any time, but having those portable, passive types of products in your business, it's just going to give you the freedom so you don't always have to. So whether that's courses, whether that's things like affiliate marketing, whether that's like on-demand workshops, maybe some kind of membership that doesn't have a lot of you showing up parts of it, things that you can do from anywhere. And the type templates, that's another great digital product that you can create. Just start by layering those into your business. Being, you don't have to do all of it at once, but doing things that are going to enable you to keep generating income. SEO is my favorite strategy, like those long-term search strategies. Social media is great for instant attention, but the thing that has allowed me to really build up and solidify that solid base of affiliate marketing was YouTube, blog post. That's the two things that's really generated the most kind of staying power, because those things, those digital assets, content assets that you create, keep working for you even when you're not actually there. When I first had that time off where I went into burnout in 2023, I stopped everything: email marketing, YouTube, social media, the whole lot, all of it stopped because I was, at a complete standstill and had zero energy for anything. And the thing that kept working through all of that was the SEO from my YouTube videos, which are also on my blog. They were coming up in search, and I kept on driving traffic to my products, and I kept on having people sign up for my offers, despite the fact that I was completely out of action. That was the thing that kept working. Everything else stopped. Social media stopped. There was nothing. As soon as I stopped posting, I got zero response from social media. It stopped growing. My YouTube channel, however, kept growing and kept sending me traffic. And that was the time I was like, all right, I know for sure now, that those types of assets, those things that you create that can be found in search weeks, months, or even years from now, are those assets that you're creating for your business that will help solidify and grow your business into the future. So that is definitely something I would strongly recommend. And also, you can do what I'm trying to do with engineering your business to suit your life and planning your travel around your business cycles, or planning your business around your travel cycles. Whatever it is that is going to suit you. You can create your business. This is your business. You're the boss. You're the one who gets to decide exactly how that is. So you can do that. You don't need to do something just because someone else has told you that's the way to do it. You have full flexibility. And also, you can try different ways of doing the Nomad thing. It doesn't need to be a sudden, permanent decision. I mean, it certainly can be. Belinda, who I met, was like, all right, I'm going. And her and her husband made the decision. And like weeks later, they, everything was packed up and they were in another country. For me, it was, a year of thinking about it and planning, and then, doing that kind of test the waters first to see if I even liked it before fully committing. And then Kate, who, is in that Kajabi Hero digital nomad community. Kate travels for half the year. So she has a base in Christchurch in New Zealand. She hates winters in Christchurch. I get that. I grew up in Christchurch. They're horrible. It is not the most fun place to spend winters unless you live at the ski fields. So she spends winter outside of New Zealand, traveling around to different places. So there is no like one size fits all. You can do whatever suits your life and your business. So it doesn't have to be a particular way. There's lots of options and there's lots of ways that you can make it flexible and you can make it suit yourself. Now, this lifestyle isn't perfect. There's certainly some downsides to it. All the travel that I did where I was like going to a lot of places and I was doing a lot of things, it definitely kind of, I don't know if it burnt me out. It definitely took a lot more energy than I realized. Like, I was like, oh, but I'm going to be lying on the beach and doing all these things. I think it was just the constant moving from place to place to place to place to place sort of took a bit more of a toll than I thought that it was going to take. And by the end of last year around Christmas, I just felt myself craving just to stay in one place for a while. And that may be, some energy that you've got to dig into at one time. Maybe you're someone who is like place to place is my jam and I freaking love it. For me, travel is absolutely something I've always loved my entire life. And I get my best ideas when I'm traveling. Like that is the thing that sparks inspiration for me. So, traveling is good, but you've got to balance it and you've got to see how that fits into your life as well. And also if you are doing time zone juggles, it's okay. You can make it work. There's ways to make it work that don't necessarily involve you having to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Or maybe it's like, all right, one day a week is my early morning, and you may reduce the number of calls and you may put your prices up and say, hey, I'm only available for, a limited number of calls each week or each month. And so you're like, all right, I can do it if just one day a week I'm getting up early. But again, it's your choice, your flexibility. You are the boss of your business and you can set it up any way that you want. So that is it for today. This is what I do if I wanted to be a digital nomad and travel the world. If you want to get a link to that travel community, you can find it at theunicornadvisory.com/this. Just click on the button. You'll be able to join that community. And Kate and I would love to have you in there. And also, if you've got any questions about being a digital nomad, about traveling, bring them to the community or comment below. I'd be more than happy to help. Tomorrow, I'm going to be back again on the live stream and I'm going to be talking tech stacks, which might sound a bit like, huh? But it's basically how to choose the right software to run an online business. Some things to consider when you're going, which software do I want to use? Or, I think I want to change software platforms. How I think about it, which may be a little bit different to what you think. I don't think there is any one specific right choice. I've certainly got things that I prefer, but also some business considerations that you might want to think through before, moving from platform to platform to platform, because again, there's no perfect thing, and it's a case of choosing what's the most perfect thing for you and for your business. My name's Sue McLachlan from the Unicorn Advisory, signing out for another day, and I'll see you back again tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining me. Bye.